very much, and Taoiseach, I welcome you to the House. Others have spoke of the collective work on Brexit, which has been important, and the solidarity from our European partners. And it is important, of course, that Ireland also shows solidarity by engaging actively and genuinely in the debates that Europe is facing around social and sustainable future. I think Europe is at its best when we are pressing each other to raise standards in terms of environment, equality or employment, and when we are willing to challenge countries or groups who seek to erode human rights. Taoiseach, I know and I hope that you will be able to be a champion on those issues in the decisions ahead. Taoiseach, you spoke about some of the best speeches happening in the Seanad, and I think sometimes and occasionally they still do. But you also spoke about Seanad reform on a previous visit here. Those of us who had put in a Seanad reform bill on the very first day of this Seanad, recognising the mandate that came from the public in that regard, put aside our bill in order to engage, and I was one of them, in good faith, in an implementation group for the Manning report that was in the government's programme for government. Yet, after producing a report on how that may be implemented, we found that you, Taoiseach, spoke in the Dáil and actually questioned all of the founding principles of that report which you had asked us to produce implementation legislation for. The very principle of giving a direct vote to members of the public to this House. And I have to ask you, Taoiseach, are you or were you sincere about Seanad reform? And if you're sincere about Seanad reform, how can you deny the public a direct vote on this House? Taoiseach, you have to show that your words and actions are strong and meaningful. There are responsibilities which cannot be abdicated to the market, to the EU, to officials or to any department. We need to know that you are able to make choices for the common good, even when it goes against perhaps some corporate interests or corporate pressure. For example, on housing, we need to know that you will take those decisions to have the state build and rent social housing, but that you will also seek to shut down the investment loopholes which are distorting and toxifying the housing market, rather than exporting our vulture fund model to Europe as is currently proposed. Taoiseach, the market will not fix housing. Everyone knows that. But the market will also not fix climate change. Again, political leadership is needed, and it is needed in this budget. Lastly, I come just to conclude. Taoiseach, in terms of peace, disarmament and immigration and human rights, if Ireland is sincere in that, I ask you to take action to deliver safe passage, not to block our family reunification bill, and to ensure that Ireland is a voice of peace and human rights that supports families to be united together. I ask you to lift any money message on that bill, and I know my colleague will expand on that. Thank you.
Senator Patrick.